Hello and welcome to this series of podcasts where I'll be talking to the movers and shakers in the Welsh economy. What's their history, what makes them tick, and what do they see the future in terms of their business and the future of Wales. I'm joined today by Lyndon Wood. Lyndon, you're very welcome. Now, Lyndon is somebody who has many roles. I noticed that you are the founder, chairman, CEO, investor, author, troubleshooter and growth strategist of Moorhouse Group. Proving that men can multitask. On top of that, CEO of Group X Investments, author of LyndonX.com, chairman and CEO of constructaquote.com, amongst many other things. The first question, Lyndon, that people will ask is, do you ever sleep?
In terms of sleeping, I get usually about 4 or 5 hours a night because that's just the way I'm built. And during that, I wake up about 6 times as well.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about yourself. Obviously, very successful in business. You've got a number of businesses that you've helped to found. What's your journey? Where did it begin?
Yeah, my journey started really, I'm a Valleys boy, sort of brought up in Treharris and then Cefn-y-Hengoed and went to Lewis Boys School and so on. I bailed out of the school system at age 14. Just didn't suit me at all. I was a shy, timid sort of kid. I set up my first, if you like, business at age 16. And I was just buying sportswear from a wholesaler in Treforest and selling it round pubs. And then I found myself sleeping in the car at 18 for a period of 6 weeks, so midwinter, -4 degrees. I remember that on the radio. And I managed to get a job on commission only in the insurance industry, which I did for 9 months. And then at 19, set up my own insurance business. So that's some 29 years ago now.
So which business was that you set up?
This is Moorhouse Group.
Moorhouse, that was 29 years and 3 months ago?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was called something different back then, of course. Yeah. It was Insurability Group. Big advocate of some marketing there. You know, group meaning a 19-year-old living in a 2-bedroom house. But, of course, we sounded bigger.
Yeah. And you've got 46,000 clients?
46,000 clients.
Yeah.
A lot of construction clients, a lot of consulting clients.
And what would you say are the core parts of your business? Would it be liability? Would it be commercial businesses rather than individuals?
Yes, it's a mixed bag. I mean, we'll insure from a £40 premium dog walker to a £150,000 premium tech business. So it's across the scale. A lot of digital, a lot of .comming.
I suppose the curious question for a lot of people would be, how do you assess liability? You mentioned the dog walker there. It must be a difficult one to try and work out what the potential liability of a dog walker is.
Well, actually, when you think about it, if you've got a dog walker and the dog escapes in your care and runs in front of a car, boom.
Yep, yeah, no, that's true. So you started off in insurance, and you must have set up that company when you were very young.
Yeah, I set it when I was 19.
A timid youngster to a confident 19-year-old.
It was, absolutely. So I've realised I'm sort of an omni-personality. So you've got introverts and extroverts. I'm actually a mix of both. I prefer my own company and sit in the corner somewhere. But I'll speak on stage as well if I want to, if I need to. Yeah.
Very similar to me in that sense.
Yeah.
Much the same. But of course, you're not being content with Moorhouse. You've got other businesses that you've set up or been involved with. I mean, I mentioned earlier on Group X Investments. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, that's a new venture of mine. So basically set up a vehicle, a limited company, all sounds posh and egotistical, but a limited company where actually I will now start acquiring other investments. It could be property, it could be equity stakes, it could be something else. Yeah, I've spent my life building an insurance business and using that capital to invest in property, to invest in recruitment, manufacturing, private doctors, the fitness space, so gymnasiums, just a whole wealth and depth of knowledge and experience built up over 29 years.
You're also described as an author for LyndonX.com.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote my first book actually when I was 22. It was a horse racing book, and it was a formula based on logic to win at the races. That gave me a bit of an appetite for writing. And I wrote my business book some 7 years ago, Diary of a Fortune Hunter. And that's based on 52 tried-tested strategies in my company that transformed the business over time. And I'm working on my third book, which is more wisdom and philosophy, approach to life, and that's called Self Just Be. Yeah, I'm 60% the way through that one. So I enjoy writing. LyndonX is the portal to, it's sort of an extended business card and CV.
And chairman and CEO of constructaquote.
Yeah, again, that's part
As
of
if you didn't have enough to do.
Oh, I know. Yes, plenty going on.
Tell us
and more now.
It's an interesting model. That tell us a bit about constructaquote.
Yeah, it's a digital play. So we were the second in the insurance space to enter the market online, and that is quote and buy. So it caters for public employers, liability for tradesmen, professional indemnity for consultants. It's literally quote and buy, compare in a digital fashion. Just makes life easy for customers.
And in other things, you've done TV work, Fortune Hunter TV on Sky, a talk show host and producer.
Yeah, very similar to this actually, Carwyn.
Yeah.
So it was me interviewing other people, and it was pure ad lib. There was no planning. So from a startup business to a self-made billionaire, so Tom Hunter, and some really interesting conversations to share experiences with people.
What I notice as well about you is that, as well as all the business work that you're doing, you're also involved with Cardiff University in terms of philanthropic work.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? As an ambassador for Cardiff University, you have been an ambassador for Cardiff University, or still are. And that's your involvement there has been in terms of preventative cancer stem cell research. Prevention, rather than treatment, if we put it simply. What brought you into that line?
I've always been a health fanatic and fitness fanatic, so always gymnasiums, always researching health from credible sources, not just from magazines, but from laboratories in maybe Mexico or America and so on. And there's a big need for preventative measures. So rather than funding going into looking for a cure, why do we get sick in the first place? And there's a severe lack of funding for preventative research. And I'm a bit critical like this, but if we found out that a spinach leaf would stop anyone getting cancer, where's the money in it for anybody? Because we would just grow our own spinach. Yeah? So I'm an advocate of preventative measures. I live my life preventative and I don't get sick. Yeah? So I get my bloods checked twice a year and I check on my biochemistry and levels, and I adjust through food. And that's how I live my life.
So what's the secret to it, do you think? How do you, when you say that that's the way you want to live your life, you see it as a way of preventing yourself from being sick? In terms of your diet, what sort of things would you avoid, for example?
Yeah, I would avoid red meat completely. Yeah, and even the NHS, if you're unfortunate enough to get cancer, as my wife did, give you a leaflet to say do not eat red meat. So it's not a holistic thing. It's actually it's scientific fact. Yeah. So red meat, definitely. I'm a vegetarian, born vegetarian. I seem to have angered more towards...
Born vegetarian?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like meat from the time I was born.
Right,
Apparently my mother gave me some bacon when I was 2 and I screwed the place down. So I'm not eating meat since. Do you know what I mean? I went through a couple of years of trying it, but just didn't appeal to me. And I find myself more angling towards the plant-based eating. So usually about 6 days a week. I'm plant-based.
So trending towards vegan, would that be a...
Yeah, but I don't take it as a hard and fast rule. You know, if I'm in a restaurant and there's a pizza with cheese on it, I'll have a pizza with cheese on it. It's no big deal, do you know what I mean? But equally, I just choose plant-based when I'm at home because it's nicer, it makes me feel better, I get more energised, and it's just better overall. And I don't get sick.
Yeah, well, you're testament to your diet in that case, aren't you? One of the things you mentioned earlier on was there you were, shy kid, 14 years old in Lewis Penga, was it? Lewis Boys Penga.
Yeah, good fun that was.
Obviously, had no, use that dreaded word, engagement with school after the age of 14.
Yeah.
And there you were at 19, 5 years later, confident enough to set up your own business. What created that change, do you think?
You know what? I believe I was built for business. So take the ego out of it. I believe I was built for business. Yeah? So know who I am. Yeah? And I think at 19... I just needed a job. I was in a job on commission only, and I thought, well, I've always wanted to do my own thing. I did it at 16. Why am I battling with my boss? I hate the word boss, but with my boss over my half a commission every month? I'm getting the same pressures as being self-employed because I didn't know what I was going to earn next month. So I went off and did it myself. And it was August 1990, at the start of a big recession. I didn't know at 19, I was young and naive. I didn't know it was a bloody recession, did I? I was just 19. I started a business, and it was tough in the beginning because I actually didn't know insurance. So I ended up putting business through another insurance broker, but at least it was under my own badge, my own brand, and built up a client base from there. Lots of peaks and troughs. You know, nothing's easy in business, but it's how you navigate through those that really matters.
Now that's fascinating. There you are, a 19-year-old with next to no experience of insurance. Would that be fair?
9 months.
Okay. How did you go about building a successful business and building up a client base with no Well, no reputation and no experience. What was the secret?
You know what? And 19, but looked 14 still. I've aged since. Business and life does this to you. You lose your hair and everything, don't you? So, but looked 14. So, and working from home. So I was in an old man's industry. The average age was 56, and I think it still is.
Less of the old man.
I'm with you on that now. But the average age was 56. Now I'm at 19, look 14, trying to sell insurance. So it was challenging. I'd been knocking doors around industrial estates. It's about hard work and graft, isn't it? Then realised actually that wasn't good use of my time. I spent about 6 months doing that. And I started using the telephone. So now they didn't have to see me that looked 14, this skinny 6'2". I was 9.5 stone to 6'2". I'm 14 stone now. So I was like a cardboard cutout, you know. And I picked up the phone. So I bought every Yellow Pages in the country. There were 5 each. Got my local one free and just rang people. So I could get around like 10 times more volume on the phone, and I didn't have to look 14 in front of them.
Yeah, as opposed to somebody saying there's some kid at the door trying to sell insurance.
Exactly. It's about the credibility again, isn't it? So,
I mean, did you have a big break at any time, or was it just a gradual build-up of your client base?
No, I mean, no big. I'm not a believer in you get a big break, you know, because luck doesn't happen. I don't believe in luck. You know, you buy a lottery ticket to win, you don't buy it to lose, right? Yeah. If you buy it to lose, save the quid or £2.50, whatever they are these days. So not a big break. It's about observing and watching the world around you and how it's operating. And it sounds complex, but it's really not. So it's looking at your local environment, your national environment, and your global environment. Yeah?
Yep.
So you might be in Cardiff, but actually there's a bigger picture to be looking at. Because something that happens in Europe or in the UK could affect you in Wales. There could be an opportunity. It might be something you need to avoid. So it affects your planning.
Yeah. You're also involved with, one of your companies is L&S Investments.
Yeah.
Would tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, that's the property business. So over the years, we've bought property, refurbed them, rented them out, sold 1 or 2, and we're now expanding that sort of property portfolio as well.
So Moorhouse Group is what? Moorhouse, constructaquote, Lyndon X, and L&S, and Moorhouse itself.
That's right. Yeah, Moorhouse Group is also constructaquote, so it's a trading style. We've also got, without adding complexity to this, but we have XO as well, which is a broker-to-broker distribution channel.
Okay. How did you find the TV work?
Enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact,
how did you get into that?
I'm looking to set up a media sort of empire, I'll say. Yeah?
Empire, yes.
A media business now. So working with some ex-military people, which is some really interesting things going on. So it's a media bit. I got approached to do this. I think credibility, and I'm a big social media sort of fan. And I got approached, and we went over 6 months and made some Sky shows, Fortune Hunter, and doing that. So interviewing all these people and gaining some wealth and knowledge, but having the ability to ask the depth of questions, because I'm in business, I've been there, I'm still doing it, and ask those sort of questions to the people I'm interviewing.
Let's move on to the present day then. You're involved, as we said, in a number of businesses. The first question would be, how do you juggle it all?
The answer is you just don't juggle. You prioritise. Yeah, there's a severe lack of ability to organise and prioritise. And I see that in the workforce as well. And it forever frustrates me, because what I see as priority, someone else might not, or something's common sense. So when you're a business owner, it's about just being organised and prioritised. You've got to be a sniper. It's actually a chapter in my book. And I'm not promoting the book by any long shot. I give it away as a business card more than anything. So be a sniper. You have to select your target and go for it, because you haven't got the time, effort, resources to spread too thinly.
I think sometimes in this country particularly, we equate productivity with the amount of time you spend in work, rather than what you do when you're there. And I look at other countries, I mean, look at Denmark, for example, where people work far fewer hours than people do here, but they're more productive.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you talk about prioritisation, that I suppose you're more effective when you've worked out what you're going to do with your time, rather than thinking, if I spend 12 hours in the office today, that's productivity, without actually thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from a workforce point of view, different for your business, from a workforce point of view, it's about ownership and engagement. If you take a job with a business, take ownership, understand the business, understand the strategy, ask the questions. The business can only do so much in sharing with you. Yeah, it's down to you as an individual then to absorb that, engage with it, and actually ask yourself the question, what is your next step? Yeah, because if you're not engaged in the business, then you're going to be doing your 10, 12 hours. If you engage with the business, you understand it, you can prioritize better.
Yeah, no, I think that would be sensible advice to any business, especially when you've got people who are working, around the clock and wondering how to prioritize. That's something that people need to learn, isn't it? Rather than trying to.
No, absolutely. You take a job with a business, especially a small and medium, but independent business. You take a job there, own it, because you've got to help the owner build this business. That's why you've taken the job. If you're just going to be a pain in the backside, don't take the job. Yeah, engage with it. It's really, really important, because otherwise there's one guy or girl, or maybe it's a partnership, trying to feed you everything. You have to come halfway.
So you went into the insurance business on your own in August 1990, roughly.
Yeah.
What sort of changes have you seen over that time? I mean, online brokering obviously is one area. It's fairly obvious. But what else, in what ways has the industry changed over the past 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, I was pre-Google. I was in Alta Vista. Yeah, and that was just about then £3,500 for my first PC. It was an expensive hobby. Yeah, I mean, the changes over 29 years have been vast, and probably too much to talk about year all day. But lots of cycles, a couple of sort of recessions, and whilst I'm not a believer in recessions from my industry and my experience point, of course they exist and they affect businesses. There's just been so many different changes to even talk about, Carwyn. Where do we start?
Give me three.
Give you three. September 11th was a big change for me. Yeah, so in 2001, and then it rolled into 2002, without boring people with the insurance detail, but capacity in the market shrunk. I had my eggs in one basket. Massive change. I lost 55% of my clients and practically had to start again. So I went 4.5 months paying 35 staff salaries with no income. And I swear my brain snapped into changing me as a business person for the right reasons. I swear my brain snapped into and put itself back together again, because I went so insular to try and figure out this issue of mine. Thankfully, no debt in the business, but I could have easily shut the door and just walked away. But I don't give up. Yes, that was certainly a major one. Yeah, in my very, very early days, I'd been trading, I think, about 3.5 years. So by the age of 23-ish, I was wholesaling into the broker market, so broker to broker. And one of the insurance press said I'd gone into voluntary liquidation. They picked the wrong name and the wrong company. I hadn't. So, of course, my brokers disappeared overnight, went back to zero. Yeah, so that's 3.5, 4 years of trading back to zero. So these things sort of happen, and didn't have the money to sue them. It was just like, I think the editor got sacked or something. But it really affected my business. Went back to zero income. So first 4 years, almost like wasted. And then September 11th, 55% of my clients gone. So it's this sort of up and down that gives you the experience, the intuition, the depth of knowledge that helps me advise and assist others.
There's one area where insurance has changed is in the area of professional liability. It's traditional for doctors, solicitors, barristers to have professional liability insurance. But I just wonder whether 30 years ago a dog walker would have had insurance, whether they would have thought of being insured. Have you found that there are more people now who take out insurance that perhaps wouldn't have thought about it?
No, absolutely. I mean, it has been a big sort of change because of the claims culture, which we seem to inherit from America. It's a claims culture.
Oh, no fee started that.
Yeah, no blame, no claim, no win, no fee, and all.
Yeah.
And whilst the government have been trying to change these sort of things and alter, it's not doesn't seem to be having much of an impact. So yeah, I mean, did dog walkers exist 20 years ago? Or was it something that somebody dreamt up and all of a sudden there's a load of dog walkers? And apparently there's something like 60,000 of them in the UK. 60,000 dog walkers. Do you know the average earning for a dog walker? Something like 70 grand a year.
Well, I have a dog, so
walking dogs.
The demand's always going to be there, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So
my grandfather was an undertaker. He was never going to lose business, was he?
No, never. Die in trade. But so of course, anybody out there that is struggling for income, be a dog walker. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. No skills needed, as long as you can walk a dog.
So you've got that new category of people, I suppose, who are now looking to be insured. I think you're right with the claims culture. When no win, no fee came in, it got to the point where a lot of firms, it struck me, were just looking to settle claims to get a commission. They weren't interested in going to court at all and actually getting justice. It was all to do with how can we settle this in some way. And to my mind, the level of professional behaviour has gone down since when I was in practice, dear boy.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, but that's where we are now. But on the other side, I mean, you don't do car insurance.
We do van insurance.
You do van insurance.
And fleets.
One issue I think the insurance industry is going to have to wrestle with in that field in the future is how do you assess liability if you've got autonomous vehicles? You know, your 17-year-old lad is a much higher risk than your 45-year-old mother of two in terms of an insurance risk.
Yeah.
But if everybody has an autonomous car, who bears the liability? And how do you? I mean, the risk is the same for every person in the car, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Tricky one in terms of the model.
Look, the motor industry is broke, fundamentally broke at its core. Yeah, there's too many. I think there's about 6 or 7 mouths to feed when a claim happens. Insurance companies almost trade with each other, and with body shops. And I've seen some real weird things going on. And it's fundamentally broke at its core. And whilst you try and educate the industry, of course, they just don't listen. They're too entrenched in their processes and systems, and it's just broke. It just doesn't work.
When you say it's broke, what do you mean?
It's let's just take a real example. If you're paying £500 for your car insurance, break it down. Starts at £500. A broker will get 10 to 12.5% commission. A broker will rely on selling you roadside recovery and other bits, if you want it. They take 10 to 12.5% commission, so that comes out £450. Then there's, again, boring insurance speak, but reinsurance costs. Yeah. We can cost 18, 20% of the premium. Yeah. Then there's management costs. Yeah. Then there's claims costs. All right. So claim versus that net amount. So let's say an insurance company is left with £250 on a £500 premium. Then a claim happens. Then you get the injury lawyers involved. Then you get the car hire people involved. Then you get the body shops involved. Then you get the doctors involved. Then you get the physiotherapies involved. What's left? Nothing. Minus. And that's where it's broke. There's too many people playing the system. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's where people are left seriously and permanently injured, they're the claims that are the biggest because they need the money to be looked after in the future. Oddly enough, the damages for death are actually quite small. When I was in practice, it was 7,500. Yeah, it was everything else that added up. And I think you're right. I feel sorry for doctors in some ways because it's very difficult to judge whether somebody actually has a whiplash injury or not, because without any number of scans, and even then it's unclear. So it can be quite tough to try and.
It's conflicted. I was the non-exec chief exec for a firm of private doctors for 8 months, and it's broken. The doctors are getting their work from injury lawyers and claims companies, and because the amount of money stacks up, I'm talking like £1 million a year for a particular firm that I'm aware of. They're not going to give too many reports of saying you haven't got whiplash.
No, that's right. The courts have moved to a system where there's one expert now. At one time, we used to go to trial, and there'd be one doctor on one side, one doctor on the other. Yeah. And inevitably there are going to be different medical opinions. That's the way life is. It's never that precise. No. GP once said to me, "Medicine's an art, not a science."
Yeah,
true.
No, that's right.
So we see these changes. That leads us on really to the future. As far as you're concerned, where do you see your future? You strike me as somebody who's mapped out a lot of things, who's planned for the future. What are your plans from now?
Yeah, look, I'm opportunistic, so I love opportunity, I love growth. And I've talked to people about growth and helping them in their businesses about growth. What I don't like are people that procrastinate and come up with full of excuses. Because that's just not me.
Prevarication is the thief of time.
Yeah, look, you have to be a believer. If you're in business, you've got to be a believer, because if you don't believe, just don't be in business. You're going to kill yourself and lose all your money. Yeah. So for me, it's about growth. We're still growing the insurance business quite vastly, particularly online. That's about growth, doing some new interesting things because I can't do one thing. I get bored very quickly. So the fitness area interests me. Continuing research in the health sector, I enjoy that. Property is easy. You buy a property, throw some builders in, monitor it, and just let it do its thing. So I find property quite easy. And that's what's really lined up my future. And media, of course. So writing a book, and I'm getting more entrenched in that world because I enjoy it.
Will you ever retire, do you think?
When I'm dead.
I've come across a lot of people like that. I remember once talking to Terry Matthews, and I said to him, "Well, you ever thought of retiring, Terry?" And he stared at me as if I'd said the most ridiculous thing imaginable. Because for him, that's what Terry does. He loves setting up new businesses that he believes in. Yeah. And projects that he delivers. In fairness, and so you put yourself in that category, would you?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's about the buzz of it all, you know, because if you retirement in its true sense,
Yeah.
you've really given up, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's these days people tend, very few people who just retire and then stop, don't they?
And they usually die within 2 years.
Well, yeah,
you look at it.
I noticed that one time, 60, where people were in jobs where they had to retire at 65, you'd often hear a few months later and they died.
Yeah.
Almost as if,
But do you know why? Do you actually know the biological reason why? The biological reason is we live off adrenaline. So when you're in business or doing what we're doing in our careers or whatever it is, whatever you've chosen to do, we have adrenaline rushes. Yeah. The second you stop, when you go on holiday for 2 weeks, for example, so many people get sick when they're on holiday. It's not food poisoning.
Yeah.
Your adrenaline has stopped, and now you're getting hit with things. Yeah,
So
and
if
that's
you go
what
on
happens.
holiday, you're in the gym every day.
So I am. I actually am. I actually am. Yeah. And I never holiday. I just work from a different country.
So work-life balance, has that got any meaning for you?
Nah, no meaning whatsoever. It's rubbish. Yeah. Especially if you're in business, your work-life balance. Work is life. You are your work, and you are your life. And it's important you bring your family along with that journey as well.
Yeah. So what are your hobbies?
Fitness.
Fitness, right?
So martial arts since I was 12.
Martial arts? Come on, which one?
Also since I was 12. So from Kung Fu, if you want to talk grades, and one for qualifications and grades, but grades, second degree black belt in Kung Fu. Went on to Taekwondo for 2.5 years, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, which is Israeli fighting out for the military. Interesting one, that. Headbutting and lampposts and things. So just a whole range, Muay Thai, boxing, just a whole range of martial arts. So
right.
I used to...
So you're a placid character, you'd say?
A placid character, help anyone, give anyone my
fairly
last.
apathetic.
But if I'm cornered, at least I can defend myself and my family, yeah? That's the main thing.
Yeah. Still doing karate? Still doing Kung Fu?
I don't do the martial art classes or anything. I'm not a class fan myself because I'm not a team player. I'm a solo operator and I'll observe teams, yeah? But I do keep fit and I like to punch the bag. Yeah.
I remember when I was a teenager, we used to think we were fit, playing rugby and play squash, play badminton, and Bridgend Recreation Centre then had a multi-gym, the old one machine. Not a gym that you got now. And we used to go on that, and I remember there was a karate class in next door. One of the lads came in from the karate class, and they had bars. You did pull-ups,
yeah.
And this guy grabbed the bars, swung himself upside down, hooked his legs over the bars, and did pull-ups hanging upside down like a bat. And I thought, that's fit. Martial art, I tell you what, Brian Jacks, do you remember him? He's been sports stars, judo player, and he was incredibly fit, wasn't he?
There's some really, really fit people around. I mean, I do it for health now. Historically I do it for, let's look good or let's keep fit and to compete or whatever. Now I do it just from a health point and keep myself all proper.
You don't do holidays?
I go away, but I just work from a different country.
Right. Your wife very tolerant?
Oh, completely. You have to bring your family along, otherwise you end up in divorce court. You have to bring your family along, your kids and everything else. And you explain the journey you're going on. And as much as kids want to listen, but they like driving the cars and things. But you just bring them along. Otherwise, you lose them.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So we've talked about your future of Wales. If I ask you a question in 10 years' time, what would you like Wales to look like? What would your answer be?
Yeah. I'd like Wales to look like, I was going to say Dubai then, but not quite. We don't high-rise buildings, do we? From the high street point of view, if you want to fix and sort Wales out, the high street really needs, and it's a bit of a cliche because everyone goes on about this, but it needs proper investment. Yeah, I feel for retailers, especially independent retailers. The larger ones, they suffer because of overcapitalized, overborrowed, maybe bad boards and the rest of it, and it sickens me watching it. The independent shops and retailers, rent is killing them, rates are killing them, and they don't adopt digital very well at all. So instead of trying to compete with the Amazons of this world, join them, because not many do, and they need that help, support, and advice. And actually people to do it for them as well, quite often, because they just haven't got that skill.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, what I've noticed, I live in Bridgend, and Bridgend's got a lot of empty shop units. A lot of the units are too small, frankly. Yeah. All Bridgend lacks is office space. Good office space. Yeah, it's being developed, but there's a need for more. Of course, you don't get the footfall in a day then.
No,
and that's interesting. But I've said this to some of the smaller businesses in Bridgend. Look, if you have an online presence, especially if you it costs okay, I understand that, but an online shop, you're open all the time.
Completely.
In effect, you don't have to be in the shop for 24 hours a day. But you may as well be Amazon.
No, that's
is
right.
what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it can be quite difficult to get that message
Yeah,
across.
and the thing is, there's so many tools out there now where businesses can do this, not just retailers, but they can do this. You know, you can go to, well, name dropping, but places like Shopify and things like this, you know, and you can pay, all right, it does cost, you need people to perhaps set it up for you. And that's where the government could play a part. You know, probably £2,000, you can get an e-commerce online, take your payments, load up your image, everything done. Yeah, you can get it sorted. And all of a sudden then you can open up your Amazon shop and your eBay shop and your Wish.com shop and your Etsy shop. And all of a sudden you've just quadrupled your distribution. And now you can be European. Yeah,
yeah. And there's one business at Bridgend I've talked to a few times, and I get them very well. And I keep on saying to them, look, your problem is you're open between 9 and 4 in the week. You're not open Sunday. Yeah. Not open at night. You have a half day on Wednesday.
And then you complain.
Now, 30 years ago, you had housewives, people, women who were, they were homemakers rather. They weren't in paid employment, and they were in town in the day. Well, that doesn't happen anymore, and you can't go back to the way things were. And I keep on saying, look, I'll often be shopping at 10 at night. Yeah, I can't shop with you. Oh, you can ring us up. That's different, isn't it? And I've always said, look, if you had that kind of online shop, I'd buy from you. I do it because I want to support you locally. But as far as you're concerned, basically you're shut. Except on Saturday.
That's it.
So there's a lot of work obviously to do there. So you see the high street's important. Better mix perhaps of offices, residential.
You say about offices, good office space. All I see are empty offices. That's the issue. And I see the need for quality offices, but that comes at a high rent.
Yeah.
And when you're talking of your general business owner, lots of startups would love a bit of office space because they haven't got the mindset to work from home because they've got kids or something else. Yeah. They want to go somewhere, but it's too expensive for them. Even for these people to pay £200 a month for a desk somewhere, it's a bit much when they're starting out. So there's the real big gap between a startup and an intermediate business. An intermediate business can go and spend £1,000, maybe £2,000 a month on rent and get some space and the rest of it, yeah? But your sort of startup community can't. And if we're encouraging startups, we're encouraging them on the wrong basis because we're encouraging them when they haven't got that much money and they can't get a bit of office space and they can't afford a mentor and they can't set up a proper e-commerce website because they don't have the money. Yeah, where are they going to get it from? So if you take my background, I was fortunate enough I had nothing to lose because I had nothing. So you set up a business, sell your first policy, earn a commission, roll it back in and keep doing that for many years, still doing it. Because we're self-funding. Yeah, you keep doing it. So great encouraging people to start a business, give them the tools and help. And that's what Wales and the Welsh Government could do better, a lot better. And don't just give money to people in terms of grants. Have a support mechanism around it because they will waste the money otherwise. Yeah,
that's what we were working with. Say we are not in the government, but that's what we were working towards anyway.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, because there still is to an extent a tendency in Wales sometimes to look for a grant first, rather than saying, okay, we're going to set it up, we're going to set up a business, and then we need some help, we'll get it. But rather than our first protocol is a grant.
Yeah.
That's why we've tended to move more towards loans and grants, just to make sure that people have got access to money, but they're committed enough to want to pay it back.
Yeah, but it's a support mechanism around it, Carwyn, because
not just money. No.
Over the years we've seen the fact that companies have millions of pounds, and I know one particular many years ago who has millions of pounds, didn't actually set it up and disappear. Yeah. Then I've seen companies have the money and they do things with it but fail because actually they're fairly new in business, don't understand how to manage the capital and deploy it properly. Yeah.
And it's that
and then but then we put ex-bank managers to mentor them. I mean, come on.
And it's after that first year, isn't it? That's when people need help. Quite often, one of the things I noticed that we at one time used to do was you'd help the business set up, get it, and then after a year they were left on their own.
Yeah,
that would be the tough year, and then all of a sudden you're invited to fly on your own with any support.
Yeah,
and that was a real.
But even the setup, because when you think of setup, that has to be rock solid with a proper vision. I'm not even talking a business plan. I don't believe in business plans. When you're set up, you're on the back of a cigarette packet. That's not an advocate to smoke, by the way.
No, you don't strike me as.
No, I'm not a smoker. But do you see what I mean? You just do it in that micro way. You write a list and you action the list, and off you go.
Well, Lyndon, it's been fascinating to have you on the podcast. Great to hear your background, your enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'm leaning forward.
And who knows, you might retire one day, but I can't see it quite yet.
No. Thank you, Carwyn.
Lyndon Wood, thanks very much.
Thank you very much
for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.